So what we're going to finish with are my 5 tips for fostering creativity, because it all starts with the fact that I didn't think I was creative at all. So now I'm looking back saying, well, okay, so what I think I'm super creative now. I mean, not crafty creative. Did you notice how none of that involved craftability? Like, really, it's like you throw stuff on people. Like, none of it was that type of creativity. So I went through and I thought of the 5 things that I think have made me more creative, the 5 things that I would recommend for all of you. Okay, so the first tip is to actively seek inspiration. I got mad at myself recently because where I live in New York City, I'm directly across the park from the Met, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And I realized it'd been 1.5 years since I went. It's a 8-minute walk, and it was 1.5 years. So I went twice in the last couple weeks because I was like, it's right there, and I want to be inspired. So the point is, you have to make an effort to it. You have to set aside those days, because we have to set aside time for marketing and retouching and learning, obviously. But then if you learn and you're not inspired to create, then nothing happens. So like, it's just as important as learning is getting inspired to use that. So you have to actively seek it out. And so I'm just going to show you a couple examples. I went to an art exhibition. It was an installation artist. What he did is he took a room and he filled it with balloons. And the idea is you walked into the room, even though someone on the other end of the room you were never touching, your space affected theirs and theirs affected yours, and so it's how we're all affecting one another in different ways. It was a really beautiful installation, but I saw it and it had big, big windows and skylights, and it inspired me, so I ended up doing this shoot. Cost effective, ready? 2 windows behind her with really stretchy white fabric. Like, it was 99-cent fabric from Joann Fabrics, 99 cents a yard. So I gaffer's taped it above the window. Okay, and we attached that. And then went to Party City and bought white balloons. And then my friend who's a florist had these extra branches that she was throwing out, so I borrowed it from her. And that's it. No lighting, it's just backlight from the windows. My walls in the studio are white, so I overexposed, just the light bouncing around is what gave that effect. But I wouldn't have been inspired if I hadn't gone out to see the art installation. So, another example is I saw the movie, well, the new Sin City movie, like the newest one, and I was like, oh, okay, time to go create Sin City. And so then I made these 2 photos after. And I hadn't really done any of this like femme fatale, you know. I'd done a little bit of film noir black and white, but not this really like vampy, sexy interpretation of it. Because I saw inspiration, I went and saw a movie. I'd heard it was kind of bad, but I knew it was kind of pretty. So I ignored the badness and watched the prettiness, and it was totally worth it. So I sought out that inspiration. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Just make a point of it, even when you're busy, like even just an hour on a Sunday to go through Pinterest, 500px, like whatever it is that inspires you. Okay, the next tip to foster creativity is to try something new. And it doesn't just, I'm not just meaning like photo techniques. Because I recommend, my recommendation is you watch this class, go pick one of them. Build your little prism thing and take it out on location. I mean, honestly, I've shot landscapes with it. Well, not landscapes, cityscapes, because we don't have landscapes in New York City, okay? But I went around the cityscape and got really cool abstracts, and it was awesome. So try something new, just pick one of these and try it for inspiration. And so, you know, when I got a macro lens, I was like obsessed with getting all these close-up macro lens shots, and I tried a new light modifier. This one over here is called a spot projection. ProPhoto makes one where you can buy gobos that you stick in and it puts patterns on the face, you know, try something like that. But recently, I'm not super duper outdoorsy, but I'm also not bad. I grew up on a farm, so I'm not super wimpy. I taught in Peru, and I took my mom with me, and we went to Machu Picchu. And it was just the idea of seeing something new. And that's me, can you tell? Okay, but just the idea that we went someplace new, I was inspired by the colors and textures that I saw in Peru. And I have an idea for a fashion editorial from something that I saw there. And I created a really cool cinematograph that was a landscape that I don't shoot landscapes, but I love it, and it got a lot of good response, and it inspired me to try other things. So I mean, just trying something new gets you creative. So it's food, music, travel, movie, like just something that's not in your everyday routine, because otherwise you'll do the same thing over and over again. Okay, my next tip is to give yourself assignments and deadlines, because I know that if I don't block off a day on my calendar or 2 or 3 in a month and say personal shoot day, it will not happen. It absolutely will not, because I can always fill it with other projects at any given time. But I actually make it a point that I have to have those shoot days. So for me, I average 4 personal shoot days a month. So every month, it doesn't mean I shoot from sun up to sundown, but I usually do. Where I shoot, where I'm not getting paid, it's a new technique that I want, or maybe it's a shoot something creative to pitch to a client, or it's just for fun, or someone else has an idea. I don't even care what it is, but I try 4 days a month. I never get less than 2. I always have 2, but I aim for 4 a month. My tip number 4, I think that this is probably one of the most important ones, is to surround yourself with other creative people. Because when you see their creativity, you feed off of it. Then you don't feel weird when you have a bizarre creative idea. Because when you're around non-creative people and you tell them this, really weird I want to cover a girl in black light powder and take pictures of her, they're just like, okay, like they don't get it. But then someone else who's an artist, they get excited for you. Similar to that, my dearest father is not a creative at all. My dad's a stockbroker, a financial investor. He is not creative, but he's super supportive. And that was always awesome. He would have no idea why I chose to do something, but he would be supportive of it. And it's really funny too. Sometimes he'll look at one of my photos or look in a magazine. My dad is not a photographer, knows nothing about it, and he'll look and he'll go, I think she could have pulled her chin out and down a little bit. I'm like, oh, nice, Dad, this is good. But just being around the right people. So I think that means cutting out people that are crappy. I mean, cutting out the people that try to bring you down. And if it's family, can't exactly cut them out, but you find other people that fill that void. Surround yourself with other creative people. So for me, I hang out with all you awesome people. So that's inspiring. And then I follow people, I follow you all on Instagram, and I get inspired by the stuff I see there. But even beyond that, as a fashion photographer, I'm inspired and I'm more creative because on a shoot, I've got a hairstylist and makeup artists that live and breathe hair and makeup. And I've got a wardrobe stylist that lives and breathes that. And I've got all of these people that their life is dedicated to that art. So when I get with them, they're showing me inspirational images. Oh, I want to try this. And then they come up with an idea with makeup. So even if I show up totally uninspired, I can kind of pass the buck to them and I'm still going to come up with something cool. Because at least one of them's got the passion and excitement to get us all going. So that's why I think it's super important. If you've got those people that aren't creative, I mean, they're fine in your life, but you've got to have some of those creative friends. You have to. And they push you and get you excited. And then you see what they just did, and you're like, crap, I better go do something. So I think that's really important. And so here's just an example. I wanted to include this because we just did the constant light and studio strobe mixed. That's exactly what this is. This was an editorial that this makeup artist approached me, and her and her friend, who was a wardrobe stylist, she said, we want to do apparently there's a type of alien in our lore, that's some tall, pretty, blonde, beautiful alien people. I don't know, Pleiadians? She wanted to do that. I said, okay, cool. I know nothing about this, so why don't you just put it together and I'll shoot it. And then it showed up and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then I wanted to do the constant strobe mix because I got kind of the invaded energy and futuristic. So I showed up, I had no idea what was going on. They put it in front of me, but that made me creative because they were creative. So it's lucky to be around those people. In the same vein, that girl I was telling you about before, one of my best friends, Brooke Shaden, she's having a conference October 2nd through 4th in North Carolina. And it's not just about photography. There are photography tutorials there, but the whole point is to bond and be around other creative, passionate people. So we have group yoga sessions and 3 vegan meals a day. If you can have other meals too, but it's more of a emotional and creative retreat to be around other people that understand what it means to be creative, what it means to struggle as a creative, all of that stuff. So I don't usually show too much emotion, but I bet this one I will. It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be good. I'm excited. So that's promoting passion convention, and that's where it's gonna be. So it's like, I don't know, I'm excited for it. Okay, so my last tip, my last suggestion is to start a personal project. Because when you start a personal project, that gives you a theme. It makes you look for inspiration because you've already got this theme. So you're opening up and interpreting the world through the eyes of that personal project. It's giving you the deadlines, but then also you're working towards something in the end that it feels like a goal. Like it could be a book or a gallery show or whatever it may be. It's just when you give it a name, give it a project, it makes it happen. And I also think if you say to somebody, hi, I'd like to borrow your XYZ, I'm working on a personal project, they feel like they're part of an artistic endeavor. Instead of just like, oh, I like that hat, can I borrow it? I would love to borrow that headpiece, I'm working on a personal project. It's a collection of, and then it's more of they're engaged in a fine art piece. So I'm just gonna share a personal project that I have ongoing, and I've been talking to a couple people because I wanna do a gallery show. I started it, I want to do a gallery show of it. And how it started is I was looking at my portfolio and I was like, all right, I want to do a personal project, but here's the thing. I don't really do emotions or depth. Like, I mean, I do in everyday life, but not in photos. I do clean and bold and graphic. So when I say personal project, it doesn't mean it needs to be like the story of the hardships of your life. It could be, it totally could be, or it could be a story of someone else's life. Mine wasn't. I said, okay, I want to shoot something fun and eye candy that my eyes just eat up, like something that just feels good to shoot. So it's kind of like, it's like the candy of, you know, just you savor it. I don't know, that's how I feel about photography. So I decided in my portfolio, I love red. I just want to shoot something that's all red, endless red, do a gallery show of red, book of red, whatever. So what I did is for my personal project, I wrote down all of the things that I thought of that could be red. It could be red gels, red lips, red eyes, headpieces, clothing, nails, flowers, like all of these things I could explore in red. And I made a list much longer than this. And then I set myself out to seek out inspiration, looking online, on Pinterest, seeking things out, talking to other people, asking my wardrobe stylist, are there red dresses? My makeup artist, do you have ideas for red makeup? Are there red hotels with red rooms? All of this stuff. So I'm just gonna show you just a couple. I have a lot more than these. So I mean, the very basics is I reached out to my wardrobe stylist and said, can you bring me a red dress to shoot? And so she got these beautiful textured red dresses. So I'm shooting like red on red. I want to walk into a space where it's just red overload. So I was shooting that. I'm like, okay, that was cool. Let's test out red makeup. And so I decided to shoot with, this was actually shot with an 80 megapixel camera. And so like this could blow up to wall size. You could walk into an exhibit and like through her lips. I don't know. It could be cool and creepy. Okay, but let's go more into this example. All right, so this is why personal projects are beneficial. I'm shooting a red project. I'm gonna go on Etsy and eBay and online and search red stuff. Let's search red headpieces. So I went on Etsy and I searched red headpieces. I found all of these red headpieces. I'm like, these are awesome. So I reached out to the designer on Etsy and I said, these pieces are really beautiful. If you lend them to me, I'll pay for the shipping and everything. I'll give you some really, really beautiful images in exchange. And that'd be a better showcase of your work than sitting on the mannequin head. And so she said, and I can't imagine like if she made these, selling them and then not having like an incredible picture of them. So she said, sure. And she sent them to me and I made a whole bunch of different pictures from them. And this was, I had no idea what to do with the makeup. The makeup artist thought, she thought it looked like a centaur or what a minotaur kind of thing, and she wanted to build off of that. I love, like the picture on the right, I really liked of that series, so red on red. But I wouldn't have gone out looking for these headpieces if I didn't have the personal assignment, the personal project, and then it would have maybe been a little bit more difficult to reach out to the person if I just wanted to borrow them. But instead, I could show her samples that I've already done for this project so she knows the quality of work and the direction that I'm going. And then I went on eBay and I was searching red stuff and I found a red parachute. It was $100. Found a red parachute. Online, we went and we found a dress that matched and we had the dress floofed up in the air and I had assistants go flying with that parachute. It was really good behind the scenes. Worked out though. And then things like red gels, so I could gel the background or I could gel the dress. And the picture on the right is that constant strobe mix that you'll see in the tutorial that I told you about. So I had sparkly dress and red gels and all of that, and I came up with red Queen of Hearts. So to wrap that all up, I know that I come to Seattle often, several times a year. And I was looking online, and this was 1 year ago. So this project is a year and like a month old, just kind of keep adding to it. And I knew that it was coming, and I found out that the 4th floor of the Seattle Public Library looks like that. What? It's like Lindsi. It's actually funny because when the elevator doors opened, I was like, oh, I was like stepping out. It was amazing. So I shot with one light. This is super cost effective. One light plugged into the wall over there, and it had a grid on it. And I did constant light, the light on location, and the strobe mixed, and then I moved my camera. And do you know the headpiece that she was wearing before? That's the headpiece. The $13 ski cap, but it depends on how you style it. So there's a $13 ski cap. This is a plain red dress. Those glasses my stylist did send with me, but maybe you could have connections for that. In the next shot, there's a headpiece designer that I originally saw on Joel Grimes' Facebook. He had worked with her. I said, I reached out to her, said, hey, I'm doing a red project. Will you make me a headpiece? She made me the one on the left. Shipped it up here for my Creative Live, and I shot it. Or in this next one, as cost effective as it gets, that $13 headpiece and extra red fabric, but the red fabric looks like some kind of epic something because it's blurry, because I was wiggling my camera. So all of these things, it's cost effective, but I wouldn't have looked for the location if I didn't have the personal project, and I wouldn't have been gathering these things, and I wouldn't have had the inspiration, I wouldn't have shot it for a deadline, and all of those things. So those are my tips to you: to actively seek inspiration, to try something new, give yourself assignments and deadlines, surround yourself with creative people, and start a personal project. I think the most important thing that it all comes down to is exactly what you guys are doing here, is never stop learning. And I am constantly watching Creative Live classes, or I'm going to museums or trying to listen to somebody. But I think for creativity, it's the two parts. Figure out what inspires you and keep going back to it, but don't get stuck. You try new things and actively seek it out, because you discover things that you never knew would inspire you. So I look forward to seeing what you guys create, and let me know if you make anything inspired by this class. I'd love to see it.
Lindsi Addler, everyone. Thank you so much, Lindsi.